People who've been to prison, what's the most wholesome thing you've seen? I served 4 years in a medium security facility for fraud. When you first go in, everything is terrifying. The clanging doors, the shouting, the constant feeling of being watched, both by guards and other inmates. You learn quickly to keep your head down and your mouth shut. But humans are still humans, even behind bars. And sometimes, that humanity shows itself in the most unexpected ways. There was this guy, Marcus, built like a tank, covered in tattoos, in for armed robbery. The kind of man you'd cross the street to avoid if you saw him coming. He had this reputation for being stone cold, never smiled, rarely spoke, just did his time. About 6 months into my sentence, a new kid arrived. Couldn't have been more than 19, skinny as a rail, shaking like a leaf. First timer, obviously. Name was Darnell. Within his first week, he'd already been targeted by some of the predatory types that exist in every prison. I was in the library one afternoon when I overheard some commotion in the corner. Darnell was surrounded by 3 guys, all bigger than him, backing him into a corner between the bookshelves. "Hey!" a deep voice boomed across the room. Marcus stood there, book in hand. "Leave him. Mind your business, old man," one of them sneered. Marcus just stared, not saying another word. Something in that stare made them back off, muttering threats as they left. I expected that to be the end of it. Maybe Marcus had some code about picking on the weak, but what happened next surprised me. The following day at lunch, Marcus sat down next to Darnell. The kid looked terrified. "You read?" Marcus asked. Darnell nodded cautiously. "What kind of books?" I like science fiction," Darnell stammered. Marcus nodded. "Library's got some Asimov?" "Not bad." That was it. But the next day, they sat together again. And the day after that. Soon, I noticed Marcus was showing Darnell the ropes, how to navigate the commissary, which guards were fair, which areas to avoid. One evening, in the rec room, I overheard them talking. "My daughter's turning 8 next month," Marcus said quietly, showing Darnell a creased photo. "Won't see her until she's 12, at least." "That's rough, man," Darnell replied. "Yeah, can't read the letters she sends me, though." There was a pause before Darnell said, I could read them to you if you want." I pretended to focus on my magazine, but I watched as Marcus stared at Darnell for a long moment. "Why would you do that?" he asked suspiciously. Darnell shrugged. "You helped me, I help you," and that became their routine. Twice a week, when mail was distributed, Darnell would read Marcus's daughter's letters to him. Marcus would dictate responses that Darnell would write out in his neat handwriting. But the most wholesome moment came on Christmas Day. The prison had this program where inmates with kids could record themselves reading a children's book that would be sent to their families. Marcus had signed up but was struggling with the words. I walked past the room where they were doing the recordings and saw Marcus and Darnell sitting together practicing. Darnell was patiently helping Marcus sound out the words to "The Night Before Christmas," over and over until he could read it smoothly. "She's gonna love this, man," Darnell said, smiling. Marcus just nodded, but I saw something I'd never seen before, tears in his eyes. Over the next year, I watched as Marcus taught Darnell how to defend himself, how to carry himself with confidence, and Darnell taught Marcus how to read. By the time I was released, Marcus could read his daughter's letters himself. Prison strips away almost everything.